So is it time for another rant? Well, I do think it's time for another rant. And who's the rant against? It's against UEFA, this corrupt organization, part of FIFA, of course, part European independent group, formerly headed by Mr. Corruption himself, Michel Platini, was once a great player but ended up being a pretty horrible football administrator and a horrible head of the union. Now, what am I peed off about right now? Well, I'll be very clear. The UEFA Champions League group stage is now meaningless. Okay, it's almost meaningless, but it's mostly meaningless. Now that American television networks carrying the games will pick and choose whatever match they choose, they think it's more popular, which is, for the most part, a match involving the EPL team. But overall, if you look at 32 teams entering the group stage, of those, about 30% are useless. Maribor, even Basel, team from smaller leagues like Olympiacos and Apel Nicosia, well, you say they're there, they follow the rules. They beat out their opponents. They're there. Well, first of all, the rules are crap. There are too many small teams from too many small leagues that are allowed to participate. Now, it's not about the money, because the big money is still in the West. The big money is still in major European nations, and it's in Europe and in Asia and South America and the United States, because that's where the television market comes from. What gives UEFA and what gave Platini his power was the political participation of all these small nations. In other words, when you live in a democracy where one nation gets one vote, if you allow a small market team in, chances are you're going to have the vote of the head of their federation. It's the same reason why FIFA is now looking for a 48-team World Cup in 2022 or 2026. There is no reason to, there aren't that many good teams that play attractive soccer. But there is money and there is political power that comes from letting everyone in, or letting half of everyone in. I mean, you look at CONCACAF, US failed to qualify, but Honduras isn't any good either, and Panama isn't any good. So those teams are in because FIFA set the spot aside for the United States and then said, well, let's give them a couple of more spots. Because the United States is a huge television market. But also the United States throws a lot of, American money throws a lot of power to the people who sit in administrative offices, people who sit in Zurich or New York. And so what happens with UEFA, they're sort of doing the same theory. They brought in 24 teams to UEFA now. The European Championship, which was held in France. And who did they bring in? Well, there is Northern Ireland. I mean, Northern Ireland never made any kind of major final. They're not good enough. But you get in a weak group and you get a little lucky and you get qualified, and all of a sudden you're in the final. And there you're playing some other crappy team because there's so many, and you look, partially competitive. Well, I don't want to see Northern Ireland. I don't want to really see even Wales. I don't want to see Russia either, but that's a different story because they just choose to suck at major tournaments. What I prefer to see is, the Germany, France, Italy, Netherlands, because Netherlands didn't qualify. There's their own problem. I want to see best teams. I want to see best players. I don't want to see the also-rans, because I'm not interested in watching the also-rans. Platini and his replacements are happy with the Maribors and the Basels and these mediocre teams sort of putzing around the group stage. And, some of them will even make it to the next round. Olympiacos. Whoop-de-doo. I don't care about Olympiacos. They're going to sit back against Barcelona, try not to allow a goal. I mean, that's not soccer. I mean, the real soccer I want to see, I'd rather see Arsenal. Arsenal is in the Europa League this year, Europa League. And, they didn't have a good last year, but they're, they're competent. They can play the big boys. I'd rather see Valencia. I'd rather see Seville. Seville is in. I'd rather see Marseille and Lyon rather than, Olympiacos and Apoel Nicosia and Maribor. I want to see good teams. And if good teams don't make it next round, fine. The alternative is to cut down to 24 teams out of 32. Even if you have to go the best, the top two plus the best third place team. because then it becomes competitive. There are fewer teams. You know, a team like Chelsea has a bad day, goes to Roma, gets pummeled. Now they're in danger of not making it. At this point, even if there are upsets in the early rounds, they're still going to go through. You know, somebody's not going to go through, like United States, who was a favorite, you know, and the previous winner with 22 points decided to crap its pants and not to go through out of 6-team CONCACAF. So surprises will happen, but I want to see good soccer. Cinderellas are good, but Cinderellas can't be just, getting smashed 7-0 by teams like Liverpool. Anyway, so that's why I'm mad. And you know what? Somebody ought to demand something more, better, higher, not less of crap. That's what I say.